in the world can we call in our guides in a time of emergency?
This is the moment we've been waiting for. So all of a sudden, our beings are being informed. Our entire being is vibrationally receiving information. It's becoming so strong that we can't ignore it. We're kind of like popcorn. We're kind of triggering one another energetically into activating these higher dimensions of ourselves. Things have got progressively more intense to encourage a leap of consciousness. We are actually receiving guidance all the time, but we have to learn how to receive that guidance and how to put it to use for ourselves. And my favorite and most immediate effective way to do that.
Are you ready to shine? Shine bright.
Woohoo!
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wondered who your spirit guides are or how to connect with them immediately, then do we have the Sonia Choquette Read Life Accurately show for you. Today, I'll be talking with Sonia Choquette, best-selling author, spiritual teacher, sixth sensory consultant, transformational visionary guide, and the author of a brilliant book on what's really going on in the world. Read life accurately, recognize and respond to what's really happening. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about hearing from your guides, connecting with your guides, and rising to a new dimension. So welcome back to the show, Sonia. Are you ready to shine?
Always, Michael. It's a pleasure and welcome. I'm so glad to be back with you today. And I say hello to everybody listening.
Well, thank you for being here in the mighty. Woohoo! All right. Before we dive right into things, I can't believe I'm going to bring this up this way, but we've just had a major hurricane hit Florida. We've got elections coming up. Actually, it'll be over by the time people hear this. And myself personally, I'm just getting over COVID. How in the world can we call in our guides in a time of emergency?
Well, I think the first thing you need to do is understand that your spirit guides connect to your spirit. And everything you've mentioned is happening in the third dimension, which is your physical realm. It's not the spirit of who you are. So you have to recognize that I need to reconnect to the higher version of me that is immune to all of this. And that is really easily done with your breath. You just breathe in, and you can do it right now with me. You just breathe in slowly. And then you hold for a moment, and then I want you to pull your belly to your spine and exhale like you're emptying the garbage, emptying the noise, emptying all the stress, like you're blowing out candles.
That's a Pilates technique. I love it.
Yeah, it's very nice. And you breathe up from your feet into your heart space. You can even put your hand on your heart space. I want you to open your jaw until you're clicking your ear, but you'll notice simultaneously your throat chakra opens, your heart opens, your high heart, your heart, all the way down to your belly. There's an inner opening, and then you slide in with a deep sigh. Ah. At the end of that sigh, you land in your heart, which is very quiet. There's no noise. And you open that up in all six directions around you, above and below, front and back, both sides, like a pop-up tent of light. And in that space, all this third dimension is not able to disturb you. And in that quiet, you can connect with your guidance, but it's not words, it's vibration. It's energy that you interpret. So it's that simple. That space in the heart that's quiet is where your spirit resides and informs you. So it's part of who you are. It's the eternal part. And no matter what the drama is, my mother used to say this all the time, the situation is critical, but when it comes to the spirit, it's never serious.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's huge. And I've grounded in, and mom is very wise. So I can see where you come from. So many directions I want to go with this. I really wanted to get to, are we shifting to a new dimension? But before I do that, or it may even be tangential, you use something that I've never heard before, a term, are connecting to our high heart.
Yes, our
What
high
is
heart.
that?
The high heart is here. And then we have our heart. And the high heart is the part of us that connects and listens to the higher dimensions. The lower heart listens to our emotional dimensions. So we connect to our guides in our high heart.
Supra 3D reality. Above this reality is the high heart.
Right. And we are slow. Well, actually, we're kind of like popcorn. We're kind of triggering one another energetically into activating these higher dimensions of ourselves. The third dimension is the physical self. And a lot of people don't recognize themselves to be more than that. The physical self, the ego self, the personality self, but we also have the fourth dimension. And the fourth dimension is a combination of our emotions and our higher mind, what we start calling the non-personal awareness. That's the part of ourselves that can see things without internalizing them personally. So it's the part that does the third dimension says, why is this happening to me? And the fourth dimension mind says, oh, this is interesting. Why is this happening? So that's the fourth dimension where we start to be non-personal, a little bit more objective and open to seeing things from a less than subjective way. And then we go to the fifth dimension, which is the spirit of us, which says, oh, this is exciting. This is happening. What can we learn and create? And that's the space that we're all activating to some degree by necessity.
I want to get to our spirit guides. Before I do that, then dangerous question. Is our higher self or that higher part of us celebrating even as we're going through, and I can only imagine on the day this releases, we're going through we'll call it a holy tamale moment. How's that?
I love that expression. That's a good one. Well, as far as what we're going through, we cannot heal what we don't reveal. And while we've been informed of so many choices we've been making that have not been good for us and have been really arrested in the third dimension, we haven't learned much. One of the limitations of the third dimension, the ego self, is that we tend to live in our left brain. And our left brain, I liken to an AM radio. It has a limited bandwidth and a lot of noise. But one of the things about the left brain is that it doesn't have the capacity to see our connection to our own spirit, to the life force and the connection that we have and share with other humans, nor the connection to Earth. We see it as things out here that primarily threaten us and we have to take control of, or are only for our benefit. So we take advantage of. What's happening in the holy tamale moment, as you say, is that we're starting to be forced to acknowledge and recognize and experience our connection to our own limited nature, activating our higher nature, as well as seeing our connection to one another and the earth. But the process is pretty consistent with human nature. We tend to learn when we have to. So things have gotten progressively more intense to encourage a leap of consciousness. And I do think it's happening.
How is this encouraging a leap in consciousness, or what does that look like, or what is coming? Or this to me is why I do my work. This is why you do your work, I'm sure.
This is the moment we've been waiting for, sort of. Well, I think it started with COVID. I think that until COVID, our world was pretty predictable. I think that we are used to and made assumptions that life wouldn't change too much. But after COVID, all of a sudden we were in a new frontier. We were facing, first of all, a pandemic, and for many people, their first one in their lifetime. We were facing a threat to ourselves and to our planet that we didn't understand, and we found our traditional sources of information that are just five sensory, left brain, ego-centered, didn't offer us any guidance. So it started out of necessity to ignite what I call our inner senses, what we call the sixth sense. But I've learned since COVID that we have more than six senses. Sixth sense is actually a word for a collection of senses, that we have a conscious gut, we have a highly aware heart, we have sensitivity at the back of our head, even our skin is very conscious.
I went for a swim just to jump in one sense that I didn't even know existed. So I went for a swim up in northern Quebec, a place called Saguenay, which has these giant fjords. And I'm swimming out in this water. First off, it's so deep in the deepest water that there are whales. And I heard a blue whale sing. I couldn't believe it. I had heard humpbacks in Maui, but a blue whale singing in a lake or in a river in Canada, I couldn't believe it. And I kept swimming, and all of a sudden, I felt the earth drop out from underneath me. It was a felt sense of do not have, is that a sixth sense, a seventh sense? And I said, okay, time to turn around. What I was told by the locals is I had literally just crossed the threshold where it went from a few hundred feet deep to a few thousand feet deep. And there's a massive current. And I was watching for the current, but a massive current, which will take you 30, 50 miles downstream before they catch you. My body sensed it.
Right. Isn't that exciting?
It was cool.
That's what the inner senses and the way we're evolving is, that all of a sudden our beings are being informed. We're not just being informed through our physical exterior senses. Our entire being is vibrationally receiving information. And if you're even remotely aware, it's becoming so strong that we can't ignore it. What you're sharing is a beautiful example, especially the fact that you listen to it. In fact, the whole point is it's giving you information that will help you make the best decisions for you. And so that was an experience. And people are having these kinds of experiences more and more and more spontaneously, walking down the street and all of a sudden just knowing, without any sense informing them, any of the five senses. Knowing, go in here, walk there, stay away, step up, pick up a phone. It's happening so quickly for everyone because we are connected. And is just like you were feeling this, your feeling traveled and activated someone else's. Maybe it was 100 miles away, but we're connected. It's like a network. So we're starting to help each other activate these inner senses collectively, and it's happening very quickly. So, as you know, you and we have lived in a world where we've been sensitive to energy and comfortably allowing ourselves to be informed by energy, by guides. But we also were kind of out in the field. We really consciously knew that this was not going to be necessarily something mainstream. That was a mainstream experience, and we would be perceived as a bit woo-woo, if for the better, which was the word, but it's not that anymore. More and more and more people are having these experiences. Too many to consider now that it's dismissible. Now it's becoming common conversation. We're not out in the field anymore. The field has approached. Now more and more people are saying, gosh, I'm just having these strong feelings that my life needs to change, or I need to do something different, or I need to end a relationship, or I need to start one, or I need to change my perceptions. I need to start acknowledging what I'm feeling. This is how we connect to our spirit guides. And the most important spirit guide you have is your own higher self. So what we were able to suppress and ignore is gotten louder. Our sensibilities have become more receptive. And I'm telling you, I swear in 5 years, everybody's going to be talking about their five senses as ancient history. Everybody's going to be talking about their intuition, their inner senses, and their spirit guides, like we're talking about our neighbors.
Love it. So I always get visual. So spirit speaks to me both in words, but also it loves to paint pictures. It loves to give music. It loves to give movies. And so what it's showing me is, as you're saying this, is me driving down the road in New Jersey. My wife and I had been catapulted off of Maui. We ended up in New Jersey in her childhood bedroom. We're putting our lives back together. That's where we started Inspire Nation. And I was doing my automatic writing, go, oh, so that's why I'm here. And I'm driving down the road one evening and I said, I feel so overwhelmed. And I may have even hit my hand against the steering wheel. at which point a giant power transformer above the car blew up. Electricity sparks went everywhere, and the neighborhood was out of power for the next few hours. Oops. And bringing that to what you just said, you just talked about us being kind of at that leading edge. And there are many, if you're listening to the show, you're at this leading edge of what I think is, and I'm going to Florida in my head, all of the power transformers that were blowing, record number blowing during the recent hurricanes. And I think what's actually blowing, if we take this from a spiritual significance, is a transformer is something that resists, slows things down, capacitors. The resistance is blowing up so that the signal can travel through. I heard it's time to turn around without words, just this knowing sense. And I have this technique from triathlons. 1, 2, and by the third stroke, I'm fully using my momentum and going the other direction without pause or hesitation. And I think the more
You know what I want to say? Without thought.
bingo, because the transistors have been blown. You and I, they're shot, not meaning there's anything wrong with us. There's something right with us. But the more that we take action without those transistors getting in the way, the more it affects our lives and the more it ripples out to everyone's lives. And this is where we get to live. In that, we can go old school Eckhart Tolle, be here now moment, but taking it even beyond that, it is fully imbued with the energy of the present that is guiding us.
Yes, it's when you let the energy flow through you and you're beginning to respond in a non-intellectual way. Your inner being you're communicating with the energetic field of the entire universe. And you're not fighting it. That's the blowing. You're not fighting it, you're just going with it. And so the people listening here, I know that people listening to this get this. But what we're moving away from and what you're just talking about when you turned around and started to swim without any resistance, that's the new part for most people. Most people would get the vibration and then look for the explanation. I don't know how many times you've heard this, but I've heard that the most common question I've heard from people who are really being guided, how can I be sure? How can I be sure? Could they go up to their intellect to look for evidence? Look for look for authority, look for something, because how can I be so directly informed? Nobody gave me the idea that I could be so directly and accurately informed. So they don't act, they stop. But what's changing now is that decision to just go with it and not look for permission, not look for evidence, not look for logic-based support. Just I'm feeling it. So I've simplified that by saying I trust my vibes. Works for me. I'm going with it. I'm going because the vibes is vibrations that are in communicating in a non-intellectual, non-external sensory way. I become the receiver. My whole being is the receiver, and I'm moving with it. And that's what's happening collectively. And what we need to communicate is exactly what you just communicate. Go with it.
How much are you going to a state of, and then I want to get to a cube of space. Let's play in this cube for a little bit here today. How much are you going to, if I had a word to put to the, oh my God, the ground just fell out from underneath me. The word is actually thank you, because I'm going to turn and say thank you. And to me, that thank you, which isn't even it doesn't even have to be said as a word, actually welcomes in more of the guidance. It says, I take it, I know it, I'm appreciative, bring me more.
Yeah, it says I'm receiving this. I receive this. And and the thank you is the heart opening because that's where it's being received. Like I am receiving this communication. I am receiving this guidance. Thank you. Because the guidance is motivated to keep you on your path to fulfill the things you're here to fulfill in the third dimension. So it's like, no, Michael, we're not going to swallow you up in the abyss of the center of the earth today. You have things to do. So we're going to communicate that turn around. Stay on your path. Stay on your path. Stay on the path that best serves your highest good, your highest fulfillment, your highest expression. And so thank you is the perfect word. And it's the perfect receiving. Guidance is to connect with your guides is not an intellectual process. It is energetically receiving support in a way that your ego doesn't control. Your five senses don't control. It's receiving an element or an assistance that you have choice over, but you can't control it. It's not coming from the external world alone. It's coming from the vibration of the whole matrix that we're in, the whole universal matrix. So we have to, what I'd say that this is interesting. I want you to tell me what you think about this. I was doing a college course on international communications, and in the course, I was invited to watch a program on YouTube. It was a documentary about a man who lost his eyesight. And they did these corneal transplants on him, and he regained his ability to physically see. But he did not regain instantly his ability to receive what he was seeing. His brain and his whole being had to learn how to take in and see and integrate what he was observing. So he had to learn how to see it. I think we're at the same threshold. We are actually receiving guidance all the time, but we have to learn how to receive that guidance and how to put it to use for ourselves by recognizing, oh, this is something I can do now, which is what he had to learn. His brain had to learn that I'm now getting this information that I didn't think I was able to get, but now I am able to get. And to me, it's a correlation. It's the same with guidance.
So I'm butchering two languages at the moment being up here in Quebec. Well, two languages, but I say language is not my first language. The language of energy is doing fine. But the word that comes to me, because I'm thinking of kids now, is encouragement. And I'm trying not to put a French accent on it, but the word at the center of encouragement is courage. And the word at the center of that is core, which is the core, which is the heart. And what we're talking about is we were not encouraged as kids to pay attention to those things. We get to encourage ourselves now. I know if I'm out on a hike and a gust of wind hits me, I take note, sort of like the bottom falling out. I will actually pay attention to that now and give it credence. For him, what's actually even more fascinating is so he has to actually have the courage to integrate this again, but also he had to have a lot of courage to get the vision back because there is the concern that he could lose other visions, which was probably not discussed in this documentary, that he had gained without even knowing it.
Right. It's like a Rubik's Cube. He had adjusted one way to navigate, and so he had to learn, he had to have, and you know what he had to have, and it's a function you and I have served as teachers. He had to have mentors and teachers to help him and affirm to him that the information that he was receiving was reliable. And he had to, so we need our teachers and we need our mentors to empower us so that we get the reflection and the mirroring that says, yes, you can trust what you're getting. Yes, you have to adjust. Yes, it's different to be getting it the way you're used to. And no, you don't have to sacrifice something else. You have to expand, not contract, to assume and assimilate this new resource of guidance, this new information. Doesn't mean you start shutting down other sources, you integrate it. And that's been, for me, I had the benefit of great teachers, and I've had the miraculous role of being the teacher, but the goal is sort of like those people who taught that man to see. My whole purpose in life is teaching people how to trust training their brain to trust their actual experience. You feel the gust of wind, you don't miss a beat and go. When I get a vibe, I receive energetic information. I don't even think about it. I just move with it. But what we have to learn, if you've been told you can't know things the way you can't trust your heart, or your heart doesn't know, or it's not quote unquote real, which means it's not physically on the third dimension visible, then it's not real. But we're changing that whole paradigm. So we help one another by affirming what you're getting is information. And if you run it through your brain, you dilute it or you lose it. But if you just let it move you, have you ever heard the expression, the spirit moved you?
Of course.
That's
And
what your
that was a
spirit guides are trying to do. They're trying to move you in certain directions that align with your highest good.
I'm so sorry. I'm cracking up because I always am given movie visuals, and so I've got, I don't know if you know the movie or not, Blues Brothers. I've got Dan Aykroyd in a church. Uh, do you see the light?
It's absolutely, it's a perfect example. And music, as you know, I'm sure you are aware, is the angelic realm. It's a perfect way to communicate with spirit guides. Let the music move you is the first experience of being moved and guided.
So would you mind sharing, because I want to get everybody in this space of support today. Okay, that's not fair. Everybody, we are in this space of support. We just get to bingo. What's a cube of space?
Okay, the cube of space is an energetic field that we create that allows us to navigate in the third dimension without being overwhelmed by it. And it is a field above and below, front and back, two sides. We're in the center. And that cube of space is a field that allows us to be in clear energy instead of being inundated by the chaos of vibrations that are coming from low and high and riffraff and other people's feelings, and being enmeshed and in the mosh pit of life. We create this energetic field that allows us to observe, but not absorb the energy that we are exposed to. So we can be discerning and make choices about what energies we want to influence us and which ones we want to follow and which ones that we want to ignore.
How do we create the space or anchor into this space?
It's very simple. It starts with where I started on the program. Just take a breath in through the nose. First of all, here's how you do it. First, look around and notice the most beautiful thing in front of you. Because the lower vibration ego you is always looking for trouble. So it's going to filter you into what's wrong with this picture, what's dangerous, and it's a bias. So look for beauty, because beauty connects to the heart. So find the most beautiful thing in front of you. Can't find it? Look in the mirror. Then you take a breath in through the nose and you feel the energy coming in to the body, into the nose, into the throat, the high heart, the belly. And then you reverse it and you empty. I always call it emptying the noise. Empty by pulling your belly in, and you empty by an exhale like you're blowing out candles. I call it, you do two breaths like this. Another breath in and then empty. 2 breaths and a slide. The slide is you open your ear to hear a click, and you open this inner channel where all the inner senses are. You can feel it. Take a second breath and then slide into the heart space. Now, in the heart space, there's a spark. Your heartbeat is where your spirit enters the body. Scientists can't explain why our heart beats. They can explain a lot, but they have not yet cracked why our heart beats. But metaphysicians, including my spiritual teachers, says that's the point where the spirit enters the body and brings you life. So like a spark, you begin to see it expanding beyond the heart in all 6 directions, beyond the edges of your body, into maybe a meter, 3 feet around you, above the physical body. So you have above, below, front, back, and both sides. You're like in a room. a cube. I call it the room to breathe. Because the minute you're in this clear, you push everything out with intention that does not vibrate or does not vibrationally match unconditional love or higher. It's just you push it out to the highest level of unconditional love. So you're just in clear, safe space. And you can feel it because your head gets quiet. Then you can take it a step further. As you've worked with the archangels, you put the archangels around one per edge. To the east, we have Raphael. To the south, we have Michael. To the west, we have Gabriel. To the north, we have Uriel. This is air and fire and water and earth. Above is what we call the lace curtain. And this is where energy comes in and the guides come in. Light beings, joy guides, teachers, helpers. We have an energetic field that is as populated as the third dimension of divine support. There's that much support for us. And then we go to the earth frequency beneath us, and that earth also has a huge source of support. Gaia, the earth itself, is a consciousness. We have nature spirits. We have air, water, fire, earth spirits. We have animal spirits. We have the trees. We have the mountain. Everything is spirit. And so when we're in our cube of space, we become sensitive and conscious of the spirit of things. But we have to create the clear space first.
Ian, thank you. This is, I'm putting myself in this space. I'm in this space, but I'm putting myself, it's just beautiful. And maybe because of COVID, I'm extra sensitive. So it feels really good. Yeah, let's go there today. I want to talk about some of the different guides, but how important, since we've had hurricanes and floods, this is the year of floods. I don't know if people are calling it yet, but I'm going to call it, I'm declaring it the year of floods, which we can call it Mother Earth crying or clearing or just water, which is actually very healing. How important is it to hear from Gaia or Mother Earth as one of our guides during this time?
I think we have no choice. I think that we have definitely, we are beyond the point of I can't hear you. And I think what's happening is a bit of a reckoning, the indifference that we've shown to the earth, the ignorance, the unconsciousness, is now eroding. We can no longer afford the luxury of ignorance. And so the elements, because it's flooding, which is the emotional body, the waters, they're helping us feel, and the fires are helping us purge, and the earthquakes are helping us realize we are connected to a living being. And the tornadoes, the wind is saying, clear your mind. The force is bigger than what you think. But you think there's something more important to pay attention to than just think your own thoughts are the only thing to put importance on. So this is the year where we are being reminded that these forces are coming from a living being, that Gaia, the planet, is a living consciousness. It's not a thing that we can just exploit and care less about, like a big garbage dump. And so it's hard to get our heads around that because a lot of us haven't been introduced to that awareness. Unless you come from more of a First Nation or a more indigenous culture that still has kept that connection. This is like, what are you talking about? It's just the earth is a thing I walk around on. And so we will no longer be in that. We won't have the privilege of that ignorance pretty soon. I think we're pretty much getting that memo.
I think so. And I would always add to it. And so I have multiple discussions going on at the same time. And so I say I would add to it, and the line I'm about to add, they're going, that time has passed. I would add to it the line, kind, gentle, easy, good. May I have all my lessons, kind, gentle, easy, good. And what I'm hearing the spirit world saying is then you need to listen because kind, gentle, easy, good has almost left the building because we need to get your attention now.
Right. But you know what I think? I don't think much actually. What I feel like the toxic beliefs that have allowed us to get to this point and the consciousness, the people who subscribe to that consciousness that have led us to this point are on their last coughing breaths. And I feel like we've actually have tipped to a frequency that will lead us to healing. It's just not broadcasted. I think that what we are made, we cannot heal what we don't feel and what we don't acknowledge. But what's not broadcasted enough is that there's tremendous genius and there's tremendous creativity and there's tremendous force of good creating healing choices. They're just not being focused upon or allowed to be focused upon, but they're still happening. So I already feel the tipping point actually is tipping toward healing, even if we're just across the line. The collective consciousness of humanity has already made the choice that we're going to solve this. We're going to learn. We're going to grow. We are going to wake up. And we're being really reminded of those who don't want to or we are resisting. But I don't think they're the majority. I really don't. So we'll see in the next few years.
Well, this is cool because it comes out, and I still believe in kind, gentle, easy, good. I believe we're just getting it louder and louder.
Truthfully, I think that is, even if we're only at 51%, we have kind, gentle, easy, good is 51% at least of humanity.
Okay. Well, what I'm loving is we're having this conversation. So when this releases, this is a few days after the election. And I think this is the perfect time to hear it because no matter what side, and I put that in quotes because to me, guys, there's no sides on a round planet. It just doesn't exist. There's no sides of consciousness either. We're all expanding, we're all growing, we're all one, we're all together in this. But I truly believe, despite anything you've heard or will hear, we have chosen to make it through this time. We're already there. We're already past that pinnacle or zenith or high point where we're coming down the backside of the mountain. For goodness, it's now opening up and allowing that in. And so I think this is the perfect message today that it's sort of like a mirror. Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear, whatever it is. What we're seeing or told from the old guard, focus on this, fear this, let us control that. It's okay. But that's not where the game is at anymore.
I think that we have collectively reached a different conclusion, even though it has to play out. And we'll see how it plays out. But I don't think anybody, I don't want to say that. I think very few people are being on the sidelines feeling unconscious and neutral or indifferent. At least all this drama has got everybody aware, and there's benefit to that.
I think overwhelm is the biggest. And I think that, and let's get to some specific guides here who maybe can help with this. Overwhelm to me seems like the biggest disempowering agent, what a weird term, energy right now of we're hit with so much stuff that I'm just going to go tilt at the moment and then not be able to step forward. And so if we can find a way to anchor onto our guides or hear our guides better, we can claw our way or relax our way back into a state of empowerment again. Because the old guard, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, let's just look at it this way. People in power want to stay in power. Big deal. It's okay. You're the creator. You're the marvelous. You're the magnificent. Let's get you back to that state. But I've got to get you past that tilt. How do we move past that?
I definitely feel that the best way is to be willing to accept that I am a powerful creator and that my choices create my experience. And a choice to not choose is a choice. A choice to not be informed, be interested or aware of what I'm doing or why is its own choice. But empowerment, I think it really comes down to, am I willing to be responsible for not just my experience, but for the fact that I affect others too? That's a new awareness for most people. And do you know that the left brain, if you live just in the left brain, we have a primarily left brain culture. Generally, a quality of the left brain is that we don't care about others. It just sees others in the backdrop. It just is much more egocentric, much more centered on me, mine, my house, my body. It's limited. It's like a limited bandwidth. When we start to go to the right brain and the heart brain is when we start to recognize I have power and influence. When we're just in the left brain, we can't experience that fullness of what's available to us. So we have to get to this place of feeling empowered. And so what gets us into our right brain? Walking in nature, going outside, getting off our electronics, breathing, using our imagination, being creative, doing art, gardening, creating beauty, singing. A lot of things that we did before we had all our electronics. We just have to be willing to step away from what's being inundated here and just get back to our bodies, be in our planet, and get to the heart and the urge to create. And that will then start relaxing us. And that, as you know, you were swimming in nature when you had this huge surge of awareness, you see. It's hard to do that. You're hard to get huge surges of awareness when you're scrolling on your Instagram. It's hard to get surges of awareness when you're being bombarded by news and noise. And so we have to just get quiet and get in our bodies and get outside a bit. Because it's how we're wired, it's that easy.
Thank you. I have a dear friend, Dr. Michael Merzenich. He's called the father of brain plasticity. And he came up with that term of a brain being plastic, being moldable. And he talked about how we are wired or engineered to learn with movement. That you get outside, you get in nature, you get lost, and your senses come to life. And so I was reading an article yesterday about top 25 ways we can have greater longevity. And number one was throw yourself outside first thing in the morning. And that movement, as slow or as fast as you want, you don't have to run the mountain. I love to run the mountain. You don't have to run the mountain, but just getting yourself out there among the trees. You're even in the middle, maybe especially in the middle of a winter. One of those books, we talked about how many books I've written. One of the other books that I've never published is called Silence Speaks. And that's really the pristine winter conditions when everything, you can see a flake of snow hovering in the air at 0 degrees and everything is so silent. And yet the world is so loud, not the world of the cars. Your angels, your guides, your spirit, you hear so clearly when you get out and move outside of this little artificial cube we put ourselves in.
Well, I totally agree with that. It's about listening, but you're not listening to your head, and you're not listening with your ears. You're listening with your heart and your whole body, and you're not talking. You're listening. And when you get outside in nature, first of all, you're connecting to nature. It'll pull a lot of that overstimulation out of your body. Plus, when you walk, you go left brain, right brain, left brain, right brain. So it naturally balances you and opens up this inner sensitivity. absolutely works. And you don't have to walk for long, 10 minutes. But when you're walking, as you're pointing out, pay attention to what you're seeing. And my teachers taught me a really good exercise when you go for a walk is to look for things you've never seen before, because that's an exercise in being present. Just notice what you've never noticed before, especially if you tend to walk in the same circuit. If you can't walk, because there are people who are not mobile, then do it in your own environment. Look around and look in your home. Look at the details of the people in front of you. What have you never seen before? Because then you're coming out of your head, out of your own preoccupation, and you're starting to actually connect with what's right in front of you. And don't tell stories about it, just observe and experience it. The way to do this, be curious. I don't really know what this is. Let me experience it. It's funny. I was talking to a gentleman who said to me, I talk to my spirit guides, but if my wife knew, she'd think I'm nuts. She'd get rid of me. And I said, okay, that's interesting. Well, we do need mirrors. We do need people. We're pack animals. We need our mirrors. And he said, well, I don't know where my mirror is. My wife would she would divorce me. Well, as divine humor would have it, this is at a point in time when I used to do one-on-one clients in person. The doorbell rings and it's my next client. So I put his coat on, turn to push the intercom, say, come on up. Turn around, he's as white as a ghost. It's like, what happened? I goes, oh my God, that's my wife. And the best part, he was so shocked because the way he perceived her was a projection that she wasn't receptive to anything that would be more intuitively oriented. But what was best was he asked me where the back door was. He wasn't willing to say, oh, look who's here. Aren't we both here? That was too much for him. He preferred to keep the perception that we're different. And so I will always remember that as such a telling moment about how we can all be. We see things the way we choose to see them. And then when we see something outside of that, we still revert back to, well, I prefer to see it this way, because then I can be comfortable. And I don't have to open up or adjust. And I think right now the world, and with all the earth and all the changes, we can't run back out the back door. We have to meet life, and we're being forced to meet life a little bit more as it really is. And that we have an ability to make choices about that and how we're going to respond and how we're going to participate. But we can't just say, I don't want to deal with this. I'm out.
So stuff's going down. It's November, whatever, right now, when you're watching this, or maybe it's after that. And your thinking mind is going, that's a technical term. I didn't have to put any sound behind it because vibration means so much and I don't want to do that. However, how do we get help from our guides specifically during this time? So we're grounding, we're getting to nature, we're understanding. I love the idea of looking for things new, because that it takes us out of autopilot and puts us back in the creative process. As I'm saying that, the sun is just coming out. Oh, how do we connect with our angels or guides, or who or where or what do we do at this time?
Well, I think the first thing we need to recognize is whether it's angels, guides, or anything, you can only get help if you're really available to it. Yeah, and I ask my students all the time, how guidable are you? Have you ever has someone ever come to you, for example, and they're just so troubled and you want to give them this advice and that advice and this advice, and they don't hear a thing? It all bounces off because they're not really available. They're just so consumed with their own dramatic experience that they're not receptive. So the first thing you have to do is ask yourself, am I guidable? Which often means I will be given information energetically that might suggest I do something different than what I was doing. Turn around, quit swimming in this direction. And so you have to first check that. And then the second thing you need to check is, well, the truth is, what am I available to be guided on? Where am I really receptive to input? Because a lot of times what people say when they say they want guidance, what they really want is the spirit world to agree with their ego. Just tell me this is it, or tell me I'm right. So we have to really get in the state of consciousness to be guidable. Am I available? Am I open to learn something new? Am I open to reversing or having some input that might not agree with what my ego wants to hear? And then the third is, am I willing to put that input into action? Because I don't know about you, but I have had so many people tell me I got guidance and I chose to ignore it. I argued with it. I didn't want to do that. I knew that was bad, but I knew the person I was dating wasn't good for me, or I knew that job wasn't really going to be a good place for me, or I knew that investment where I put my energy wasn't right, but I did it anyway. So we have to check. The universe will guide you. You're considered guidance like always being broadcast, and you're the radio receiver. You got to turn it on. Or if you are receptive, that's 90% of what you have to do. So first, ask yourself, what do I want guidance on? For real. And I'm willing to entertain input that's different than what my ego would like to hear. If you can get that far, then just simply ask for guidance, put your hand on your heart and immediately answer my guidance says, and speak it out. It'll come, it'll pop right out. I was teaching a class with the guides just last night, and I said, what is your guidance telling you that you've been ignoring? 300 people had an answer. Nobody said, I don't know. We just haven't checked.
I don't even know how to formulate this. I'm watching what shows people are attracted to lately. And the most common show is that people want to know what the future is. And I'm convinced it's so they feel safe. However, forgive me, everybody who's watching, it at least appears on the surface. People want to know that they're going to be safe, but not be told they get to take action. That's number 3, you said. Guidance into action. This is not a passive universe. You did not come here to just sit in a fishbowl and have the food handed to you, meaning we get to embrace the journey. We get to hear, as you said, 300 people who know what they get to do and are saying, not here, not now, wrong timing, if only, but I can't.
Or inconvenient.
Oh, totally, totally and completely. That's my world. And I always take action, but I'm going, are you kidding me?
Well, see, that's just it. Guidance is often disruptive. And that's it. I tell my students all the time, it's not difficult to get guidance. You're getting it all the time. What's difficult is to choose to listen to it. I don't meet too many people when I talk to my students, or if I'm doing an intuitive coaching session, I'll ask someone, did you really not know? I hardly ever hear, no, this totally blindsided me. In fact, today I was talking to a girlfriend who's visiting in Paris who just got dumped by her boyfriend. She goes, I just got dumped by my boyfriend. And I said, it just blindsided me. And I said, really? Did it really blindside you? You had no clue this wasn't going well? And she said, no, I knew. And I said, how long? She said, months. I said, so don't gaslight yourself. Let's deal with what really is happening. But don't gaslight yourself to say, I had no idea. So that's what we have to stop doing. We have to start saying, I am feeling this. I'm choosing to ignore it because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the guy I'm dating isn't really not aligning with me the way I want. And then let's pretend this threw me off, but very rarely. I don't know too many people who are really that tuned out. It's really a matter of choice. Am I going to actually be tuned in? And so I break it down to it's not about getting guidance, about what you do with it, which is what you're talking about, the action, the listening. So I break it down into pieces. First, you get it. Then remember, you have a choice. That's helpful. Because a lot of people don't want to hear their guidance because they think they don't have a choice. You have a choice, and then make the choice, and then own the choice to listen.
Make it and then own it. And if we practice making it, owning it, making it, owning it, making it, owning it, are we creating, we'll bring it back to the physical, a muscle that makes it easier to where the ground falls out from underneath us? We just do it. And now we're living in that state.
Well, what you create is a new type of safety. You create a safety that I trust the energy informing me that I am connected to the energy of the world, and I have a communication that is lined up in my favor. And that if I start listening to it, my life's going to get better and better and better and better. And I don't have to be patrolling the borders for the ambush at every moment. I can actually start relaxing and enjoying it, knowing full well that as I move through life, I am protected by my own inner sensory awareness to guide me toward what's good for me and away from what isn't. And I can relax. So when people tune out their guidance, I always ask them, well, how's that working out for you? Because it's less risky to listen to your guidance than it is to ignore it.
How important is it then? Important's a loaded question. And there are no black and whites. To tune we're talking about tuning in more to us or tuning in more to our higher self. How much is it important to tune out, turn off what right now, no matter where you are in the world, there's a lot of noise as this show is being broadcast.
Well, I tell people it's as simple as have you ever been on the phone and someone's trying to talk to you over here?
I don't do
You're
well
on
with
the,
that.
it's like I'm trying to talk here and someone's going ahead. You can't. You have to shut down and give something your attention. But once you become aware of what inner guidance feels like, how your spirit guides and your higher self communicate to you, it's not thinking, it's a feeling. And it's a feeling that does move you. Guidance is always suggesting movement. Even if that movement is to settle down and wait, there's always a suggestion for some choice of action. That's one of the ways to know it's guidance. Don't do that. Sit down, be quiet. Just pause. All of those are instructions. So if we tune out the noise, we'll receive it. And that's why every tradition suggests some form of meditation, some technique to quiet the noise, get out of your head. And my favorite and most immediate effective way to do that is use your hands. Do something with both hands, garden, knit, put together a model, something. Clean your drawers, do the laundry, fold. Because it pulls your energy. Hands are connected to the heart, pulls your energy out of the noisy head. And that's when most people do get their guidance. It's like, wow, I was just cruising along and was out in the garden and bam, something dropped in, or I was just doing the laundry. Something dropped in, or I was making dinner. Bam, something dropped in. But what happened was the noise got quiet.
Weird as it sounds, I used to, is that? Oh, I still do it. Even if I don't need a shower, I take a shower before an interview. And it's not so much that it's a ritual, it's that when I'm thinking about the shower, all of a sudden, a particular question that I never would have thought of, even with all my techniques, a question will drop in during the shower.
I love that technique. I love that technique as a way to connect with your higher self and guides and get your support. That for me, it's a walk in the morning. That's what I do every day. I get up and I walk. And I wrote 32 books that way. I got up and didn't even think of the idea. And then all of a sudden, even today, one came in. I was like, This is a good idea. And it's fun for me. This is my sport. This is to have talks with my guides and get good ideas is fun. It's like, it's guidance too, because it's something you never thought of before. Like you said, we are engineered and designed this way. This is not some needle in a haystack for the guru following few. This is our makeup. But we have to open our minds to, this is my new normal. It was my old normal, and what was not normal is that I denied it. And if you look at anybody who's done anything genius in this world that has changed the world in any way, present or past, they will tell you that it came through this form of guidance. Whether it's Einstein saying I got the theory of relativity while I was playing the piano, or it was Steve Jobs, or got the iPhone when I was out playing and got the idea that I'd like a computer in my hand, and then comes the iPhone. This is normal, but it's also what propels us forward. It's our creative self as well as our survival self. So the biggest change is our change of perception. Quit thinking this isn't normal. It is. It's not normal to tune out that if whales have sonar and monarch butterflies have ability to fly across continents and birds have radar and even bats have echolation, why not us? Why would we be so disconnected? So if you make that change of perception, the rest will flow naturally.
And you'll find, as connected as you are with one of these, you're even more connected without it.
Absolutely. I definitely believe that what we have is information constipation.
Oh, God. Well
Too
put.
much information. I can't, our brains are not wired or designed to deal with that much input. We need to distance. Plus, it keeps us in our heads. So we need to create daily connection to our bodies, to our feeling bodies. We definitely need to shift our experience out of our head, which is disconnected from the world around, to in our bodies, in our hands, do things together, make a dinner together, grow a garden together, clean the house together. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be complicated. Play a board game together, dance together. These are the things that will jumpstart these natural senses back into operation. If you have a big dance, everybody's heart's going to be opened. I was at a wedding recently, and it was just that particular group, and it was part of the ritual of that community, that when the music came on, everybody jammed to the dance floor. Now, nobody had talked much to one another before the music came on, but once that music came on, and I mean, some people's toes were just clinging to the dance floor, it was so packed, but by the end of it, everybody was friends. Whoopah, yay, friends, connected. So it's that simple.
Everybody's connected by a wave, by a vibration, by a frequency. So the last thing before I want to know where people can go to find out more is, I think this is rediscovering these super skills, which are our innate normal skills that we have misplaced in latency in our pockets. When you are looking at something, because this is just after the election, and whatever hits you, ask, how was I feeling before this? And how am I feeling now? So that you can take that power back in your hands and click it off to get back to what Sonia's talking about. How does this make me feel? So you're in charge of that frequency.
Mm-hmm. And if you follow what makes you feel in integrity, in other words, whole and complete, at ease, gives you a breath, gives you a little room to breathe. That's a clue that you should continue following that path of consciousness and behavior. Follow what feels good. Now it works you up. Now it gets you all excited, but what gives you breath? Allows you to relax. That's the clue.
Woohoo! So where can people go, Sonia, to find your work, to find your next beautiful book, to find all your courses and everything that you have to offer?
Well, thank you for asking. Simply the best place is two places. I would say one, come to my website, which is just my name, soniachoquette.net. It has everything. And I'm sure they can get the spelling because it's Sonia Choquette is not, Sam White, it's just a bit. But and also I have a YouTube channel where if you want to just learn a little bit more, and I talk all the time about all of this. So there's access there as well. I have actually a book, Ask Your Guides. You and I together, we're many other beautiful souls are talking about this is real. Let's listen to this. Let's make friends. Let's open up to this support. So that's where you can go. My website or my YouTube channel. I'm visible.
Your new book, Read Life Accurately?
Yes, I'm so excited about that because this is a book that takes this conversation out of the select interested few and makes it more mainstream information. Read life accurately, recognize and respond to what's really going on. November 12th, it's out, it's there. And let's hope that we learn to recognize and respond to what's really happening, because that's how we can be creative, empowered, and fulfilled.
I love it. I love it. Or how does it get any better than this? Any last words that you want to share with people today as we're going through? I'm gonna pepper it with positivity. The most beautiful, uplifting time.
See, there comes the sun on me now. Everything's gonna be okay. There it is. It's just nailing me. Everything's gonna be all right. We're gonna find our way forward. We will. So don't be afraid.
Here comes the sun.
For sure. Right in my eyeballs.
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and the sun saying, be well, have fun, dive into the sun, go quiet here on the inside. You're going to be better than good. You're going to be better than great. You are perfect. You are marvelous. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo!
That was fun, Michael. Thank you.
What a beautiful, 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 I don't have the words for it, interview with Sonia. I'm feeling better. I hope you're feeling better. I hope you're feeling more grounded, more centered, even though I'm speaking like a little bit of a chipper monkey right now. If you want to bring your energy up like this on a daily basis, come on over to the School of Mystics, link down below, where we help you on a daily basis to plug into the other side, to raise your vibration up and to live life at a higher level. That's the School of Mystics, link down below. If you simply want this energy on a daily basis to get the attunements, to get that vibrational goodness, it's free. Come on over to Daily Woohoo. That's Daily Woohoo. There's that link down below, dailywoohoo.com, where I bring your energy up through a newsletter. Nothing to be scared of. Sharing story and attunements each and every day. And if you want to plug into pure goodness, if you want to plug into your angels, to your guides, to your masters, well, that sounds funny now, doesn't it? What I mean is the ascendant masters, to teachers on the other side, to loved ones on the other side, literally to pets on the other side of the veil as well. Come on over to Automatic Writing. That's that link right there, automaticwriting.com. We have a class once each and every month to help you to do this. In one class, you're going to be able to start connecting with the other side and hearing back in writing. That's automaticwriting.com. I send all my love your way. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Keep on shining bright. And how does it get any better than this? Woohoo! Lots of love, everyone. You've got this. I've got this. We've got this.